Welcome back on The Record. Plenty to unpack at the Sunday Roundtable this morning. And joining us at the table, as you can see, Democratic political analyst Marianne Marsh and Republican political analyst Ginny Buckingham. Good morning, guys. It's great to see you. Let's start with Bill Keating. Ginny, what struck you most from the conversation?
I mean, I think he laid out probably as well as anyone can the stakes in Ukraine, and he knows it. He's been there.
Intimately,
He's
right.
very, very well informed, and I think people need to focus on that. It is the threat of our time.
He equally laid out the stakes in this election and his concerns about them and the security matters regarding ballots and everything else. And that's his warnings need to be heeded. This election is not only the most important, it will probably be the most dangerous. And the fact that a national security event has been declared from January 6th, let alone what could happen on November 5th, tells you everything.
All right, let's turn to the presidential debate. Right now, the only one-on-one between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, more than 67 million viewers, considerably more than the 51 million who watched the Trump-Biden debate in June. Now, Harris is seen as the clear winner in most polls, or let's put it this way, Democrats were very pleased, Republicans were not with that debate. The race still, however, it's neck and neck. So how much did it help Harris or hurt Trump? What do you think, Marianne?
Harris had the most to gain from the debate, and she made the most of it. It is clear she overwhelmingly won that debate. You've seen it in the polls as well. And the fact that Donald Trump couldn't make eye contact with her was the proof any of us needed that we're at the end of the Wizard of Oz movie when the curtain gets pulled back and it's a little guy in a stool. Couldn't even look at her or any of that. She was clearly presidential. He was not. And the other thing she was able to do that Joe Biden was not, this election's now about Donald Trump. And that is bad for Donald Trump.
Still a dead heat, though, Ginny.
Well, so that's the question. Did it really matter? So she did the job she had to do, which is to show that she is a capable person who can be president of the United States. That was her job. She delivered. Trump was a disaster. Yes, she killed him. But does it matter? And the polls show it really hasn't. Undecided voters that have been interviewed said, didn't really change anything. And we still don't know what she's going to do. She has to fill in those blank spaces still from now until November.
Let me touch on another thing, because ABC News took some heat, especially the moderators, David Muir, especially Lindsay Davis as well, from right-wing media, for doing some real-time fact-checking during the debate. Ginny, let me ask you, is it appropriate for the moderator to do real-time fact-checking, or should you just let the candidate step into whatever that candidate has stepped into and leave it there?
I mean, if the format was such that the candidates could fact check each other, then you should let the candidates do it. But that wasn't the format, so sure, the moderators should, but they should do it fairly and on both sides, and that didn't happen. And it wasn't just right-wing media who said it. Pretty much across the board, Mark Penn, who was Clinton's pollster, said, this wasn't fair.
Ginny has given her opinion. Marianne, what is your opinion?
She's wrong. Donald Trump lied 33 times during that debate. 33. He was only corrected 4 times. The reason MAGA land and Trumpers are all upset is because Donald Trump was finally confronted with his lies, and he looked bad, as he should. For 9 years, no one's been able to do to him what Kamala Harris did in that one night. And journalists who are supposed to be neutral are the perfect arbiters to fact check, because they're not the candidate, they're not the opposition. They are stating
facts.
facts.
In real time is a very difficult thing to do.
And they did it exceptionally well.
And they did. But I think there's also a place for that right after the debate is over as well, when you have time to flush, and teams of people to flush out these answers.
We've talked about this before. What should be done by any network who has a debate is in real time on the side, a chyron, putting in the fact, claim, fact, and people can read it and see it when the debate's going on.
And, they have to do it on both candidates. When you have a candidate running away from the fact that she's been vice president for almost 4 years, you got to hold her accountable for what she's saying she believes now, and it's not the same.
Back to my original question. Is it the responsibility of the moderator to pull someone out of the mud, or should they just leave the person in the mud?
It depends, again, on whether the candidates are allowed to go head-to-head, and they weren't in this case.
Facts are stubborn things.
All right, we move on to the next one. Maybe the most, we reported this the night that it happened, maybe the most significant endorsement of this election came from Taylor Swift, because after the debate, she posted on Instagram to her nearly 300 million followers that she was supporting Kamala Harris. And in a jab at J.D. Vance, she called herself a childless cat lady with that picture. Right, yeah, she's got that. So, Marianne, what's your take on that impact, her impact?
Well, let's quantify it. Since she came out and endorsed Kamala Harris after Kamala Harris killed Donald Trump in the debate, 407,000 people have gone to vote.gov through Taylor Swift's link, number one.
What, nearly 500,000.
407,000. We talked about this before because on National Voter Registration Day, she asked everyone to register. 25,000 people did. 24 hours after the debate, and the last 2 hours and all that, Kamala Harris's campaign has raised $47 million, of which $27 million came after the debate and the Taylor Swift endorsement. So what does Donald Trump say? There will be a price to pay. That's his threat against Taylor Swift. But he's the one who's going to pay the price in November.
Ginny?
So it really brings up the point of what really is going to matter in the end, and that is going to be voter turnout by each candidate's side in those 7 states, the 7 swing states.
In every election, it's always turnout.
That is what it's going to be about. And does she help? We don't know. Maybe. It looks like she might, but we don't really know.
Well, on one last point, at least the Harris campaign has a ground operation. GOTV is worth 3 to 5 points. The Trump folks don't. They outsourced it to super PACs. For that alone, Harris wins.
All right.
Well, the enthusiasm gap will be interesting, and it could go either way.
Let's talk about our neighbors to the north. New Hampshire is hot political turf right now. Gwen Walz, the wife of Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz, campaigning in Manchester last week. Now, but Democrats are really pressing there and feeling confident. The race for governor, the flip side, Republican Kelly Ayotte confident about her chances against Democrat Joyce Craig. Are we looking at a split decision in November? Harris potentially beating Trump and Ayotte besting Craig. What do you think?
I think most likely. I mean, New Hampshire has voted for a Democratic candidate for president the last 5 times, yet there have been Republican governors. It's the kind of place Massachusetts used to be once upon a time. I'm kind of jealous that they have a competitive race up there. And people know Kelly Ayotte. They're not going to be able to paint her as some Trump acolyte. She's going to run on her own 2 feet in her record.
What do you think, Marianne?
Democrats sweep everything, and Joyce Craig wins too. The fact is, Kelly Ayotte can't be trusted on abortion. She's taken a bunch of bad votes on it, tried to stop abortion. Chris Sununu made it harder to have an abortion in New Hampshire. She's had to make 4 ads now saying that she would.
Lots of ads.
Lots of ads
Lots
on
of
abortion
ads
because they're pushing her because she said, I would never change it. Well, as we know here at OTR, Chris Sununu lied on the show, and if you let things go, and as governor, you let it sit on your desk for 10 days, it becomes law.
Well,
So she had to
nationally
veto
this
it.
race going to
We
get?
have a
we are
front row
seeing
seat
this.
Yeah.
here in Massachusetts.
We are
TV
seeing
viewers
this.
have seen the avalanche of political ads out there.
And Channel 5's making a lot of money off of them. But here's the problem for Kelly Ayotte. Kelly Ayotte is actually complaining about Massachusetts and dissing it. That is her campaign. So everyone in Massachusetts is going to watch ads about how bad Massachusetts
We're going to
is
keep on
from Kelly
seeing them.
Ayotte. Yeah,
They're going to be
good luck.
bombarded.
Good luck.
If Kelly Ayotte wins, there's going to be a lot of Massachusetts people that go north and they leave the state.
By the way, I'm sure you know this, but we broadcast directly into that corner of New Hampshire. So there's a reason why all of that is happening.
And why they're buying ads here.
More with the roundtable, including best week, worst week after this.